Hey YouTube, good morning. It is Monday morning. A few days ago I posted a video just to try to raise awareness for the upcoming bills they're trying to vote into law, LB 58, LB 816, which are Nebraska's red flag laws. They're proposing them as extreme risk protection orders, but we all know they're red flag laws. So I said I'd do a follow-up video just to kind of explain further. So that's what this video is. And this is, first off, I know my audience is very small, so I'm just hoping to reach a few of you out there. Otherwise, it's just me talking to a camera. But this is important. So these laws, or excuse me, these bills are going to be talked about and voted on Friday, February 21st of 2020, down at the Capitol. So what they're proposing, first one is LB 58, which is the red flag law. It is what would pave the way to legal gun confiscation in Nebraska. It's being proposed under the guise of aiding in the prevention of suicide and violent crime due to mental illness. Which, if that was really the case, first off, they already have laws in place to help with that, and those need fixed. Fixing them doesn't involve stripping our constitutional rights, specifically the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms, our right to protect our families, and violating what I consider and a lot of other people consider the elimination of due process. And here's what I mean by that. So the way these orders are written, if someone suspects whether, and I'll get into who can file these orders here in a little bit. I'll actually read from the bill because I don't want to paraphrase. But if someone thinks that you or someone else might be thinking about doing something wrong with a gun, whether it's towards yourself or towards others, they can file this to have this order approved by the courts, and then that person who's convicted without representation then has law enforcement show up at their door unexpectedly whenever they deem safe to confiscate their property and, violate your rights. They're trying to make it so they can legislate intent. You haven't done anything wrong. And don't get me wrong. I do not want people committing suicide. I don't want people killing other people. That's wrong. I'm a Christian person. I don't believe in that. I believe in doing right, treating others with respect. I wholeheartedly believe in protecting your rights. The way these laws or the way these bills are written, if they become law, they strip your rights as an American to your right to bear arms, your right to protect yourself. And they also, be honest with you, the process strips you the right of defending yourself against an accuser. Because, well, let me just read who can accuse you of this to get this to the court system in the first place. So obviously, law enforcement can do it if they have if they suspect you to do ill will. People in your daily lives, though, that may not like you. You may be related to them, but they may not like you very much. They may not believe what you believe. So let me read from here. So, the people who are allowed to file this, other than law enforcement, comes down to family or household member, and that includes spouses or former spouses, children, persons who are presently residing together, or who have resided together in the past, persons who have a child in common, whether or not they have been married or have lived together at any time, other persons related by consanguinity, I hope I pronounced that correctly, or affinity, and persons who are presently involved in a dating relationship with each other, or who have been involved in a dating relationship with each other. For purposes of this subdivision, dating relationship means frequent, intimate associations primarily characterized by the expectation of affectional or sexual involvement, but does not include a casual relationship or an ordinary association between persons in a business or a social context. So, I am not an attorney. I'm not a lawmaker. I have nothing to do with that. I am not in politics. I try to avoid the subject of politics whenever possible, but in this case I can't. I've read these bills several times, and in my opinion, so it's too wide of berth of someone who can accuse somebody else of the intent to do something. And if that gets proved, strip their rights. They're trying to legislate intent. This person might do something, so we're going to strip their rights away just in case. That right there is where it violates due process. And people are going to say, no, it doesn't violate due process because they have to convince a judge or a court that the threat is real. Yes, they do. How easy is it to win an argument if the other person's not there to tell their side of the story? Any of you ever had a coworker or a friend or family member who was involved with someone in their social life that they ended the relationship or they're struggling with the relationship, and you hear the stories that they tell about that person, and holy crap, that person must have been a complete monster. But then down the road you get to meet that other person, and then maybe you get to know them, and you hear their side of the story, and like, you still may not like that person, but you realize, these two people aren't monsters. They just probably never should have been together in the first place, or they just violently disagree on a subject. Gun control, for one. Hence the video. So, basically, there's too many people that can put their fingers on this, accuse somebody of something, get your rights stripped without you ever knowing about it, and you being able to tell your side of the story. That's the violation of the rights. So that's at the core of it. It violates the Second Amendment rights, and it violates your right to defend yourself. I am divorced. That's the only time I've ever been in a courthouse other than to argue a speeding ticket. But if you're accused of something in this country, you're supposed to have the right to defend yourself and present your side of the story, or if you don't feel like you can express that eloquently enough, to hire someone to do it. In this case, you're not going to know who accused you. All you know is someone convinced the court, and all of a sudden let's say 5 a.m., someone's banging on your door, and you open the door, and it's law enforcement there to serve a warrant to confiscate your firearms, and you had no idea. You didn't do anything, but they're to confiscate your property. You're then, if you're the receiving end of that, you have two choices. You either comply, hand over your property, even though you didn't do anything wrong, or you say, no, I'm not giving you my property, I didn't do anything wrong. In that case, then they have, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but from all the reports I read, then that gives them probable cause to enter your house and still seize the firearms, and then you are a criminal because you did not comply with a court-written order. Either way, this situation could go badly for the person being served the notice, and for that matter, the law enforcement officers. So, if someone has a level head about it and doesn't want to go to jail, they comply. But this is an emotionally charged subject for a lot of people. So then those law enforcement people are going to be on edge because they're approaching someone's house they know full well has one or multiple guns and is armed, and is probably not going to be too happy that they're there. So they don't know if they're really going home that day or not. There have been quite a few cases documented. You see them all over the place that sometimes it goes well. They just comply with it and go out and they spend the next year trying to get their rights back. Good luck with that one. Or they go badly and someone makes the wrong move and someone's charged and someone pulls the trigger, whether it's on the law enforcement side or the person defending themselves, because they're both on edge. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything bad against law enforcement. I am totally a supporter of law enforcement. I have friends who are in law enforcement. I believe in the system. I don't believe in stripping someone's rights and not letting them be part of the system and be part of their own defense. That's a violation of the rights. So there's too many people, the way these are written, can take your rights away with you and just basically screw with your life if they don't like you. Yes, do I think it's a good thing that people are trying to help people with mental illness? Absolutely I do. I'm not going to name names, but I have people very near and dear to me both personally and elsewhere, that struggle with mental illness and have. And it's a day-to-day struggle. Do I wish them any ill will? No. Do I wish them a long and happy life? I absolutely do. But this isn't the way to do it. So that's something else. And that's too serious a subject for this. This is really about, I'm encouraging people to show up on February the 21st on Friday, defend your rights, express your opinion, and hopefully make these so they never become law. Let's get these shredded before they become law and become a problem for anybody. And I know, yes, this might make me sound like a radical to some people, but in calling it gun confiscation laws. So here's the question I would pose to you. If you don't think this is really, let me just put it on here, LB 8 or 58. If you don't think this is the forerunner or the catalyst for gun confiscation, then ask yourself this: why are they trying to pass this one before they pass 816? Which goes on to see what they kind of give the definitions of the firearms that are going to be legal to own and the process of getting them and that sort of thing. If they don't think it's going to be damned hard to pass this one without this one being in place first, then why wouldn't they go for this one first? This is gun confiscation. This violates your Second Amendment rights. I normally do videos that are just a little more lighthearted. I started this channel just to help people maybe not make some of the mistakes I made by buying your first gun, and some tips that you don't see from like pro shooters on YouTube or Facebook or something. The average guy, like, I made this mistake, don't do this, or here's something you might want to look. That's why I started this channel for. And I don't reach a lot of people, but I'm just trying to get the word out. This video, let's give some real world situations. I know it's going to be getting to be kind of a long video, but so this morning I knew I was going to do this video. So I had these bills and I was reading them at breakfast, and my kid sees them. Says, "What, Daddy, what are these?" I was like, ooh. Now I got to now I either got to avoid the subject or I've got to try to explain it to a child. I chose the second, and I was trying to do a real PC version, and well, I told her kind of what my opinion on what these laws are. They're trying to kind of hinder our rights. And my kid was like, well, but if they're supposed to help people, then why is it a bad thing? And I said, well, I tell you what. So let's imagine you're at school and you're not getting along with one of the kids today. And you've talked to him in the past. Like I've been teaching my kid. I was a drummer when I was younger. I don't play very much anymore, but I've been teaching my kid to play drums. So she has drumsticks, and my kid has told other kids at school that she does that. So she gets in an argument with a kid who just mad that day, and that kid goes home and says, "Well, so and so has drumsticks, and they said they're going to show up tomorrow with those drumsticks, not to play drums, but they're going to bring those drumsticks to school and they're going to start hitting somebody with them." So that expresses concern in that child's parents, and they file a petition order, and all of a sudden, knock, 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 we're here to confiscate your drumsticks. All because another child at school said that you might do something bad to someone, might do something bad with those drumsticks. Well, that's not right. Those are my drumsticks. Exactly. Didn't do anything wrong, but you might do something. Let's look at maybe a little more real world thing. So, let's say a father finally decides that their daughter has reached the agreed upon age. They're old enough to start dating. He doesn't like it, but he made a promise. So on that daughter's 30th birthday, she meets a boy. And she really likes him. They start dating for a few months. And then she really likes him, and she's like, Dad, I want you to meet him. So you invite him over to dinner. That father invites that daughter and then her boyfriend over for dinner. And during the course of the dinner, mom and dad are trying to get to know the kid, just to know what he's all about. And so they start asking, well, what do you like to do for fun? Well, I like to build things, or I like to restore furniture. I dabble in custom furniture building. Um, I also like to. I have the chance to go out and shoot with the Shriners shooting team, which I do. Not in a professional area. They're at the Grange sometimes when I go. And all of a sudden, it's like tires screeching in the dad's head, because what that boy doesn't know is that dad is a staunch anti-gun person. Guns are evil. No one should have them. Everything else. So he is. It's the first date, and he's all. And first off, no boy's ever good enough for anyone's daughter. But he's adamantly against it. So he puts on his poker face. Dinner goes on. The next day, that father calls their child and says, that person is not good enough for you. You need to stop dating them immediately. Daughter says, but I love him. He treats me with respect. I feel like a princess when I'm with him. You're going to have to learn to like him because I love him and he's part of my life. That's not good enough for said dad. Dad also happens to be a prominent businessman in town and people respect his opinion. He files an extreme risk protection order against that boy because in his mind, he's a boy. He owns a gun. He's dangerous. That boy's not there to defend himself, so that father is able to convince a judge. And judges are very smart people, and they can see through I'm sorry, but bullshit. They can see through it. But let's say it convinces him. That boy now just had his rights stripped without due process, without the right to defend himself, and has his Second Amendment rights taken away and his property confiscated because someone who didn't like him was convincing enough to a judge to convince him to set the order. That is not how this country works. There are laws in place, there are processes in place to help people with mental illness already. And do those need improved? Probably, yeah. Not at the risk of stripping your rights and my rights because someone says you or I may or may not do something in the future. And that's where I leave it. The other bill, I don't own any of the firearms that are outlawed and outlined in this law that would potentially make mine illegal. But down the road, I might want to have some of those, and I'm not going to do anything bad with them. It's my choice to purchase something. It's a tool. I have lots of tools out in my garage. I can buy whatever I want to out there. Without me being able to defend myself, I'm not going to just sit there and let you legislate what's going on in my head. So I really encourage everybody to join together downtown on Friday, voice your opinion, and help squash this bill. So if you like this video, please pass that. I know it's been fairly long. Hopefully you watched it to the end. But share it, subscribe, and help us get the word out. Thanks, guys. Thank you for your time. Shoot safe.